What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be fooling around with a title called Cygnus Enterprises. This is a game where you are a corporate employee who has been sent to an alien death world, and your job is to basically wipe everything out and establish kind of like a Sandals in space there. That's the whole point. It is basically to create like a luxury resort that people can go and visit, and they can look at all the cute animals that used to exist had I not machine gunned them with a fully automatic minigun shotgun. That's right, I said that phrase out loud. A minigun shotgun. I mean, if you don't like my hunting methods, I can also wipe the enemy out with a death ray from space if you like that better. And so this game is kind of a curious hybrid. This is a really, really weird one, actually. So this is a game where like half of it is kind of a twin-stick shooter action RPG, and then the other half of it is almost like something like Theme Hospital. Well, not even like Theme Hospital. It's a city builder. So there was another game that existed like this a long, long time ago, and I can't quite remember the name of it. I think it was by the developers of Din's Legacy and like Drox Operative. But I can't remember the name of the title. I had it back probably in like 2008 or 2009 when I was working at Best Buy. They had like one copy of it on a shelf somewhere. And so I went out and, you know, because I'm an Epicurean when it comes to games and stuff, I like to just buy things when I see them, and I did it back then too. Kind of a collector, I guess, tends to be how I am. And so when I see like a novel indie video game back in those times, pre-indie game, where there's like one box copy that was clearly done low budget by a company that's self-publishing and somehow found their way into like the media section of something like Best Buy or something like Circuit City, I would buy those things back then, because that's how I initially found Mountain Blade, the original. That's how I ended up purchasing that game, was because there was one lonely copy on the shelf at Best Buy, and I was like, what is this? And I started playing it, and it turned out to be like one of the greatest things ever. This game kind of reminds me of that game from 2008. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a game where it was an action RPG, like Diablo. And you would go out into like an overworld, and you would kill mobs, and you would like defeat enemies, and you would get resources, and then you would bring them back, and you would city build with those resources. And people had like various needs and like hobbies and things that they did in town. They would give you quests in order to like advance those things and like make their workstation or the building that they work in better or more efficient or whatever else. That's probably the only game I've ever played that's like this one. Can't remember the name of it for the life of me. I've been thinking about it now for 3 days, but this is like that. You go out into the alien death world, you do these random little missions where you wipe out loads and loads of sort of Monster Hunter style critters. Once you get done wiping them all out, you will rescue people from other corporations, you will make friends, you will hire employees, and they will work inside the big city that you've been building throughout the course of the entire game. And that city has needs, things like power, food. You know, there's manufactories there, so like you've got smelters and all that kind of good stuff that you'll use to make yourself new gear. Kind of a curious, interesting game. I'm not quite sure if it gets the whole balance exactly right from what I've played so far.
I think I'm about 7.5 hours into the game right now.
And so obviously I've been playing it in my free time, and I haven't been bored, and I've been enjoying it. However, there have been some observations that I've made about the game that I'll try to levy for you at the end of the video, because at the end of the day, this is an impressions video, and that's kind of what I do. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check out Cygnus Enterprises. There's a link down below. The game is in early access, but it releases on December 18th, so there's only like a week or so left of this game being in early access. Right now, the game is carrying at like a 75-76% positive rating. I actually think that's really, really fair for this game. I think that's a really good, sweet spot for it. You can also take a look down there in the description, and you will find a link to my Discord and my Twitch stream where you can come hang out if you want. I shout it out every single video, and like every single day when I stream, somebody's like, oh, I didn't know you streamed, dude. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I don't know what more I can do. Shout it out every day, but there it is. Right now, I'm escorting. I don't even know what the point of this mission is, in all honesty. I was kind of gung-ho to get started with the recording, and so I didn't really pay attention to the story, but the game is fully voiced. There's not a whole lot of text dialogue in the game. Most of the dialogue is voice acted. The voice acting is not super stellar. It's kind of like functional and low budget. I wouldn't expect any ridiculously poignant performances out of this one. However, they are there, and you don't have to read the whole thing if you don't want to, which I think is nice. I would actually rather have like mediocre voice acting than have to sit and like read an entire game. I know that's probably a controversial opinion, like most people will probably disagree with that, but that's just how I feel about it. Frequently what I find is that like in my free time I'm almost always like researching a game for like a feature or something like that, and so I don't really get to partake in free time unless there's like voice acting and stuff, because I usually have something on like a second monitor that's sort of like taking care of my free time for me. So something like a movie or like a stream or something else like that that's helping me relax while I'm prepping the work for these videos, and so voice acting helps out with that tremendously. I found that I can't like watch a movie and read at the same time. I'm not talented enough. But back to the point, the game is voice acted. You can hear them doing it right now. It's a little clunky, not the best voice acting I've ever heard. Neither is it the worst. It's completely and totally like functional, and it's there. Sound effects appear to be arranged pretty well. A lot of the guns feel kind of boomy, and they give you a little bit of visual recoil to go along with it. The monsters screech. They have abilities that shoot goo and splat and do all kinds of random stuff. And I've found that mostly the sound stuff is okay. You do get the occasional gun that sounds a little too wispy and could definitely use a little bit more low end, but it hasn't been a major thing that's like tilted me one way or the other. This is the planet that we're currently colonizing. I'm on day 36 at the moment. And so basically this is going to transition. What you just saw was the action RPG twin stick portion of the game. Now you're about to see the base building portion of the game. The game does feature a day and a night cycle. Your base has different needs during the day and also during the night. So power draw tends to be a lot heavier at night. Things like that. Little details that make the base building kind of interesting. I have 3 employees at the moment. I haven't hired too many more just because I'm still getting a handle on the food system of the game. I do think that the food system kind of like dominates the game a little bit aggressively at the moment. Like it's a major thing that you're gonna have to interact with, and you're gonna have to micromanage it. Like there's not really a way around it. So here's our base. This is everything that I've built so far. I built this entire place. Every single thing here was me. You have full customizability as to where you want to place your stuff. All these buildings, you can enter them too. Like we're still like in action RPG movement mode, but you can go into all these buildings. They all have cool graphics. They all have little whizzing and whirring parts. And in fact, I think the city building game is actually kind of like the premier part of this title. I think this is the part of the game that it does pretty well. There's a few things about it that like I'm not a huge fan of. So for example, it's got like an energy system, almost like a cheap mobile game where there's only like a certain amount of things per day. So you get 2 cycles per day, a day and a night cycle to do stuff in your base, 40 stamina total. But I don't know, I don't like being limited by stamina or whatever. I'd rather be limited by like the amount of resources that regenerate or something like that. I don't really know a good, because this is like one of those games where they kind of need to gate your base building progress a little bit. Like otherwise you'll be able to do too many things, and a lot of the systems will be completely and totally like non-relevant. They won't affect anything. And so like I get why they implemented it, but still, these are my farms down here. In my farms, I've got beans growing, I've got vegetables growing, I've got grains growing. This right here is my operations center. From this location, I can hire employees, I can send people out on expeditions, I can go on missions myself if we needed to pick up various resources while you're fighting. There wasn't a whole lot of it on that last mission, but there are like little nodes and things that you interact with to get like ore or to get like biomass or fur, things like that. And then you can stick them into the processor and you can convert them into the actual technological stuff you're going to need in order to build buildings. There's also a salvager you can use for that purpose. This is the factory over here. This is where I craft all my gear for missions. And speaking of which, there are a bunch of different specifications in this game that you can play around with. So were we to take a look at my character right now, your gear appearance does show on your character, which is pretty cool. You've got your loadout over here. I still haven't, so the game unfolds really, really slowly. I think the pacing of the game is a tiny bit too padded and slow, in all honesty.
After 7.5 hours or so, I still haven't even...
Well, I got one right there finally. I finally got a gun mod. But gun mods start to show up around level 20. I was about to say, I haven't seen any of the artifacts yet, so I don't know what that has to do with anything. But this right here, this holographic scope, apparently I can put that on my gun, and it will increase my precision skill power. So there you go. You do have active skills like the death ray that you saw me call down from the sky. There are what looks like 6 different trees. You level them up with specification points. So these points right here, these attribute points, you're going to go ahead and put them into a job. and when the job hits certain thresholds, you unlock key perks along the way. And it seems like you get to get up to like level 60 or level 70. I'm at about 22 after 7.5 hours, I guess. So that should give you some idea about how long the game goes. I think, in fact, it's a little bit too padded, as I mentioned earlier. I think the game could let you off the leash a little bit more. It could hold you by the nose a little bit less, and it could just kind of let you sandbox it up at your own pace if it wanted to. But the game does seem to be pretty heavily guided and focused on a narrative as well. At the moment, I've been putting a lot of my points into drones, actually. So piloting is the thing that I've been putting lots of my skills into, because I'm a big drone guy. I like drones, and this allows me to have drones and drone abilities, and so I'm always naturally drawn towards like drone engineering. I've also been playing around over here, so you can hybridize things. So I've got a skill in my pilot tree that increases my crit chance by a lot. And then there's an ability over here in the engineering tree that makes me randomly throw a grenade whenever I hit a crit. It's got a 10-second cooldown on it, which kind of sucks. But still, there are little interactivities in between the tree. I do think that there could be a little bit more customizability to the game, a little bit more gearing, a little bit more drops, a little bit more of an action RPG bent to it, if it wanted to do it. But like this side of the game, there are things to fiddle with here, and there is customization to play around with. I don't know where I want to put my points. Each of these different specializations gives you bonuses. So things like, hey man, you're gonna, run faster. You're gonna have more HP. Stuff like that. I'll probably keep dumping things into pilot, I guess. I'm not like actively working my way towards anything right now. So I'll just confirm the allocation. That gave us like 3%, 4% more run speed. It's not a huge amount, but it will be noticeable considering I'm about 25% faster than somebody that was playing like a scientist or someone that was playing an engineer. So I am quite a bit faster. This over here is the landing dock. This is where you're going to bring in visitors. These visitors are how you generate money. They all have different preferences and things that they want. So you kind of want to look at those things that they want, and you kind of want to just keep an eye on it. It looks like they kind of want to shop and stuff. I don't know. I haven't totally... They just sprung this mechanic on me recently. And so what you'll see is once I clear them for landing, a spaceship will come down, and all the tourists will offload, and they can come stay in our dormitory over here, and they all request different foods and things that we're going to have to cook up. This is the clone bay. If you die in a mission, this allows you to respawn without having to come back to base and rerun the mission with like a day's game over, basically. This is just extra lives. Over here on this side, we have a recycling center. The recycling center allows us to take things that we find in missions that might be otherwise useless, like refuse, scrap, and garbage, and convert them into random resources for building, for processing, and also for feeding people. This right here is the scientific center. Scientific center is where you go down the research tree, and you try to find all the goodies in here that will unlock new tiers. So right now, I've got 3 days until we unlock some new armor, because I feel like that's where we're kind of slacking and lacking right now. This is the dormitory where all of my tourists live. They pay you money based on how good of a job you're doing. So there you go. Like, we have 4 people staying here right now. Technically, I could bring on board another 4, I guess. I don't know how many days they're going to stay here for. I guess I've got to have multiple landing pads if I wanted them to kind of, like, do their thing. I'm going to do like a little foundational road back here. We're just going to have this run kind of out to the edge of town. And then I sort of wanted to think about, if you're wondering how many buildings there are, a lot of the buildings are quest locked, so you cannot build that building until you get like further on into the game and complete certain quests and stuff like that. So there's going to be only so much advancement you can do all by your lonesome. What I need to make are a couple of power cores, actually. So if we could whip out... let's call it like 10 power cores. It'll take 2 days to get that done. You can see a little progress meter right here. In general, I actually really like the UI in this game. I feel like the UI works out reasonably well. I have access to all the information that I wish I had access to. These are dormitories for my employees. They live inside, I guess, these little outhouses over here. I don't know. The game story is kind of tongue-in-cheek kind of commenting on capitalism. My employees are not super stoked that they live inside these little bungalows, but it kind of is what it is. This is the canteen. This is actually, weirdly enough, probably one of the more important buildings in the game, because your employees and also your visitors, they have a meal request every single day, like a thing that they want from you. And if you don't fulfill that, you either make less money or their happiness upgrades or downgrades. And the quality of your employees' works, like you can see I have somebody here that works inside the canteen. The happiness that they generate, like how happy they are, determines how well they do their job and how much productivity you get out of particular buildings. And so you kind of want to stay on top of it. It looks like I've got Charger Wellington coming out. The only meal that we're missing that's been requested is we need sea skimmer with zesty salsa. Okay, so I'm going to need some vegetables and I'm going to need some fruit. So let's go ahead and go to the edge of town, and there should be some fruit trees around here. There we go. So we got a fruit tree right there, and this is where the stamina mechanic is going to come on into the game. As you can see, my meter is going down every time I pick up one of these things. We've got our fruit. We picked up some mangled scrap. The last thing we got to do is swing through the greenhouse and grab ourselves some Latucci's, and then once we've got some Latucci's, we should be all right. So there we go. Lettuce is all nice and set up. We'll go ahead and queue up some more vegetables, knock that on out. I do think that you should be able to set up like permanent production in these buildings to save you clicks and whatnot. I don't ever plan on having any of my buildings not produce the thing that they're building right now. And so I don't see the point in having to go down there and interact with it every other day. Sea skimmer and zesty salsa. All right. There you go. We made our sea skimmer with zesty salsa. I'll make an extra one just in case someone requests it tomorrow. And after that, it's time for us to go out on a way mission. So every single day, the game is going to generate a bunch of opportunities for you. Sometimes these are simple interactable nodes. So sometimes you just click on it and get free loot and it moves on to the next day if you don't feel like doing combat or whatever. There are different types of missions on in here. By and large, the missions, there's only a few types of them. It's like exterminate, like hold a point, and like find all the power cores, I think are the main ones that I've seen so far. I definitely think the game could use a bit more... It could use a bit more mission types for the randomly generated missions. These gold missions right here tend to be a lot more interesting. So these gold missions right here are the storyline missions. They make the game advance, they unlock new buildings, they unlock new employees, new gear, things you can do. These ones tend to be the ones that are fully voiced. They tend to be the ones that have different objectives, like that last mission we did where we had to protect like a convoy. They have different setups, and so I've liked the storyline missions a lot more than the generated missions. A suggestion I would think about having is that after you play a certain mission type...
All right, we're about to go live, contractor. Do yourself a favor and try to have a little fun for the fan news.
I cannot handle this right now.
There you go. That's what the voice acting sounds like. A suggestion that I kind of have is that once you've done a storyline mission that has its own unique objective, what if that objective became unlocked with 2 or 3 different modifiers on each one, like elemental modifiers, whatever, for the random procedural generated missions? I feel like they're leaving a lot of value on the table with some of these missions by basically having them be a one and done. Apparently right now we're doing a live stream at the moment. That's the mission that we're playing around with. Quicksand, there's one of those threats that really in the 80s, they said that quicksand was going to be a much larger problem. And then it never was, dude. I never stepped in quicksand ever again. What's the secondary fire on this bad boy? It's like a big death ray. I kind of like this gun, dude. This gun is actually kind of sick. I enjoy it. As you can see, my drone build is coming together. I have multiple drones hovering around my shoulder. Is that going to be a bomb? This guy loves it, so I've been doing missions for this guy because he said he'll help us with promotions for our corporation, like he'll give us free advertising. It turns out he's a live streamer. And so anyways, he gives me these missions that are like sociopath tests where he puts me in an area of the map that he's completely and totally like Saw-style booby-trapped the hell out of. And if I can survive it, then it drives a whole bunch of business to my tourist destination. That's it. That's the whole thing. Oh, it's a penetrative death ray, too, on the right click. Weapons do have a primary fire and a secondary fire. All of them do. It doesn't matter if they're a pistol or if they're a minigun. They have a primary and a secondary fire that you can play around with. There's a decent variety of weapons that I've seen so far. Everything from SMGs to miniguns to missile launchers, to automatic Tech-9 pistols. There are a few different weapon types, enough to where you can swap it up. And the fun part is all of your weapon types, they level up individually. So every time I kill somebody, or every time I destroy something or wipe something out, you get a little bit of XP. You'll see it pop up in the top right-hand corner where I'm getting points towards heavy weapons right now. I'm a sloppy sucker for 249s and like bipoded heavy machine guns. So the second I found out the game allowed me to have a bipoded heavy machine gun, I was like, well, this is what I'm doing. No way around it. I agree with chat right now. This gun, ow, dude. This gun is pretty cool. Hit that fool with a death ray. That's what he gets. Light him on fire. Yup, we on fire. Throw a grenade at him. There we go. Grenade, son. Perfect. Your HP and whatnot in this game is set by your specialization, so medics have the most HP out of everybody. But don't fret. You can also get stuff via gear. And so, like, I'm wearing security armor right now. The security armor gives me a fat boost to damage mitigation and a fat boost to our HP, since I'm not getting it from the medic specialization tree. Guy's trying to break it. I was hoping that explosion right there would actually blow up all the rocks for me, but it didn't. We got loot coming out of there. Good. Go ahead and grab that. I don't really need more Signum bars. I need exoolite bars are the ones that I need. Let's go ahead and head over to this side. Do we have exoolite ore around here? That's mangled scrap. I mean, it could be after I process it, but I doubt it. What do we get right there? Rain on Bull? It's not what I need either. I need more. So there's like a rare metal. So this game has different qualities of things that can drop from like white on up to purple when you're like harvesting the little tiny nodes, like the little shinies that are around. Every now and again, one of the shinies gives me a rare ore that I need in order to craft higher level gear. And so it doesn't come up every single time, but every now and again you get one. Oh, we got a level 20 work visor. If you ever wanted to look like you work at Hot Dog on a Stick, man, I forget who, I think it's the engineer. Like one of the classes in this game has like a how can I take your order thing going on that's actually kind of humorous. Throw a grenade at him, get him with the death ray a little bit. Damage could still be a little bit better. Good stuff right there. Kind of like the soundtrack right now, too. They've got like a little bit of a Bass Hunter vibe going on. I know, there's a name you haven't heard in a while. Wait, got a shiny over here. What is it? It's granules of something, but it's stuck behind the steam over, or the stream overlay, so...
Don't move a muscle until we get you back online.
Alright. I think I need to do something about it. Those leptrite granules are actually valuable, though. I don't remember what they're for. I don't remember if they're for clothing or like accessories or what those build. More mangled scrap, huh? Oh, I've got to do the network tower? Okay, let me go grab it. Alright, we reconnected the network tower. Apparently the local wildlife, though, is pretty upset about it. I mean, if I can death laser more of you, that's what I'm going to do here. Eat that ion cannon from the sky right there.
Fear, Fanuels. We're back just in time for the home stretch. Hey, thanks for the whopping 500 Dano coins, Spectre. Looks like you've activated party mode.
What is party mode? Is it bad? I think I'm about to get run over by a whole bunch of wild hogs, man. This is that situation. This is, oh my god.
We got a few more guests.
Yeah, maybe run for it. I mean, I do have a oh no, they have HP, never mind. These are buff pigs, bro. My little drone is trying so hard with his little drone pistol. Bless his little cold robot murderous heart. Oh god, that's a dead end. I don't want to be. Laser! Oh, the laser didn't work, bro. These hogs are space laser proof. Unfortunately, corporate colonialism is not going super well for me right now as an entry-level employee. Not great. Could be going worse, though, dude. I want to know, like, how do I get Daniel's job where he just gets to sit around and get free money and like, have cool emotes and stuff? I'm trying not to get impaled by, like, crystal-covered pigs at the moment. The crystals are an infection. That's how the game explains that it's okay that you're coming in and wiping out these ecosystems. So everything covered in crystals is quote-unquote corrupted, which means that it's being culled for the greater good of the galaxy. And so if you're worried about sort of like the ecological impact of this game and being like, but I don't want to kill the wildlife. The wildlife is technically all dying anyways because it has the crystal infection. That's how they hand wave it. And I'm like, it's good enough for me. My general impressions about the game are fairly positive. I think like a 76% is pretty fair for this game. Like, that feels like a good nook to be in because this is neither a great game nor is it a bad game. It's entertaining, and it will 100% kill a weekend if you get into it. And obviously, I played it for 10 hours, which is more than I play a lot of the games that I feature on this channel for First Impressions videos, which means that I enjoyed it on some level. I found the graphics to be tasteful. They've all got kind of like a corporate flat design, glossy aesthetic thing going on that I think works really, really well. Your character levels up at a reasonable rate as you level up. It has tiered gear. I don't know if that matters to people. Some people get bothered by that. But it has tiered gear, so every 5 levels or so, you get like a new gear set that you can interact with and you can take part in. So like right now, I'm trying to knock out this science over here so that I can get the level 20 gear set. The problem is science is taking a long time to generate, so I may need to hire another scientist. Let's go have a look at our employees. But by and large, the city building portion of this game I found to be really, really enjoyable. It's all functional. It's cool. I think that the food system is a little bit overly micromanagey compared to how hands-off and automated a lot of the other stuff going on in your base is, but I haven't cared about it that much. In fact, I've actually found that planning my expeditions around what I need to gather meals for all of my tourists and all of my employees has kind of given me like this sub-objective to play around with. Are these guys any good? So we've got like a bodyguard over here. They have skills in hospitality, navigation, production. We have counseling, leadership, and law, production, leadership, navigation, and commerce. So I don't have anybody right now that's available to do science. I wanted to, so like I'm a little bit behind the tech curve. Like I'm out leveling. I'm like at level 25 by the time I get like level 20 gear. And I think that's due to the fact that my research is taking too long. And so I think what we really need is I think we need like a second landing pad. I don't even know if I can do that or if I'm just limited to 1 per run. We also have a marketplace. So the marketplace is nice because when we get randomized gear and missions, we can sell it in our shops, almost kind of like Moonlighter style. Like, the game's got a lot of interesting ideas. I think the big weakness here is that the action RPG gameplay is not as interesting as the base building gameplay. At least that's been my impression of the game so far, as someone that plays a lot of Path of Exile and plays a lot of Diablo and plays just a lot of action RPGs. I'm a big fan of the genre. Being a big fan of the genre, this wasn't like complex enough of an action RPG for me to really feel like that gameplay was satisfying. So I've been treating it more like a twin stick, almost like Crimson Land game in between missions. The missions themselves could use a little bit more variety. The game definitely needs more enemy variety. In like 7 hours, I think I've mostly been fighting the same stuff kind of over and over. Just in kind of like different colors and different settings, and each time you unlock a new biome, it adds like 1 new monster. But at the end of the day, we're kind of like fighting the same stuff over and over and over again. Definitely think it could use some new enemy factions, like deactivated robots, you know, like salvage sort of post-apocalyptic robots or something from a previous group of people that tried to like habitate this place or whatever. It's one of those things where I think they could break up the monotony a little bit with something like that. I don't know if I want my spaceports to go all the way down, like on that road right there, if I want them like back to back facing each other. I don't know. I'll leave it where it's at for right now, and you can see the building getting 3D printed. Having more buildings means that it's going to take you more energy grid in order to supply everything every single day. Since we have enough room for 2 dormitories here, I need a scientist. There are, unfortunately, 0 scientists inside this batch of 16 colonists. Bit of a bummer. I need a scientist. A scientist would be great. Unfortunately, I don't have that, and so I'll probably wait till tomorrow and see who wants to land. But yeah, this is a perfectly fine game. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's good. At the price point it's at, $25, I can't say that I've really played too many other Diablo twin-stick city-building hybrids Like, the game is unique, if nothing else. I think the action RPG part of the game needs a lot more variety and a lot more item drops and a lot more things to customize your character and a lot more enemies to square off against. But once I started treating the game like a city builder where the action RPG portion of the title was just kind of like a side diversion, I started enjoying it a lot more. So that means that the city building part of the game for me was enjoyable. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. If you could pick this game on sale for like 15 bucks, go for it. 25 bucks, I'd prefer to see the action RPG mechanics fleshed out quite a bit more. But then again, it seems like there's a lot more game in front of me. So maybe this is one of those games that's just not great for a first impressions video.
I played for 7 hours. Normally for a video like this, I usually try to keep it to like 4 or 5. That seems to be like sufficient.
And so I was obviously having a good time, and they're unfolding new mechanics, and they're still giving me new mechanics every now and again. Like in the last hour or so of gameplay, I unlocked, like, there's neighboring corporation stores that I can go to. This entire tourist mechanic just unlocked in like the last 30 minutes or so. Like, they're still unlocking more mechanics, so maybe there is more stuff that's going to make it more complex further and further on in. I guess at that point, the question becomes, are you okay with, like, farming the same monsters over and over and over again while city building every single day to get to those points? That's what you're going to have to decide for yourself. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so that you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were checking out Cygnus Enterprises, which comes out in a week. I will see you all later. Thank you for stopping on in, and that's about all I got for you. Bye, folks.